I awakened the lamest F-tier superpower ever, Refresh. Put simply, it can reset specified non-living objects within a 1-meter radius back to their initial state. But when I actually used it at first, I tried refreshing a book. It stayed exactly the same as before. Then I tried refreshing a towel. It still didn't change at all. So 3 months after the apocalypse broke out, my girlfriend took the last half-pack of biscuits we had and got into another guy's car without looking back. Before she left, she threw an empty instant noodle cup at my feet, like she was shooing a stray dog. Don't blame me, babe. Your superpower is totally useless. I'll starve to death sooner or later if I stay with you. Desperate, I stared at that empty noodle cup. A crazy idea popped into my head. Refresh. A strong braised beef smell hit me all at once. Under the torn packaging, there was a neat noodle block plus 3 seasoning packets. I froze on the spot. Turns out my superpower wasn't useless at all. We all just misunderstood how it works. The so-called reset to initial state doesn't mean resetting to its state 1 second ago. It means resetting to its brand new factory state. An empty instant noodle cup? Its original state is a whole, unopened pack of instant noodles. My heart was pounding like crazy in my chest, not out of fear, but out of sheer excitement. I looked around the completely looted convenience store. The shelves were full of all kinds of torn snack packaging and empty drink bottles which were trash to everyone else. But to me right now, this was an endless treasure trove. I didn't rush to boil water for noodles. In the apocalypse, any smell of food can attract unwanted visitors. I carefully climbed up to the second-floor warehouse of the store, then blocked the door with a heavy shelf. After I made sure it was safe, I started testing my superpower. I put the empty noodle cup on the floor and whispered refresh in my head. The cup flickered right in front of my eyes with an almost undetectable ripple, and a brand new pack of noodles appeared instantly. Again, I repeated, holding back my wild joy. 10 minutes later, there was already a small hill in front of me made of 60 packs of instant noodles. My superpower has a 10-second cooldown, which means I can have unlimited supplies. Then my eyes landed on an empty mineral water bottle next to me. Refresh, a 500 ml bottle of purified water appeared right away. I then looked at the first aid kit on the ground that only had its outer packaging shell left. Refresh. A brand new first aid kit appeared in my hand. My breathing started to speed up. Food, water, medicine, the most precious supplies in the apocalypse, were now available to me in endless supply that would never run out. I said I would make you all regret it. Jiang Ting, you thought my superpower was useless, right? Wait and see. One day you'll all kneel and beg me to give you a bite of food. For the next 3 days, I locked myself in the warehouse. The mountains of empty packaging boxes became my raw materials. Potato chips, biscuits, chocolate. All the food that could fill me up, I refreshed. Several big boxes of each type. All kinds of drinks and mineral water filled half the corner. Best of all, I found an empty gas canister, paired with a portable cassette stove I found in the store. I could finally have a hot meal. After closing all the warehouse windows, I boiled a pot of water, tore open 3 seasoning packets, and carefully put the noodle block in. When that long-lost aroma hit my nose, I finally couldn't hold back my tears. I cried as I wolfed down the noodles. This was the fullest, most reassuring meal I'd had since the apocalypse started. After I ate and drank my fill, my brain started working properly again. Hiding here forever isn't a solution. This store will get breached by infected sooner or later, or found by other survivors. I must find a safer base. Plus, I need weapons. Having only food and water in the apocalypse will just make me a helpless lamb waiting to be slaughtered. I stuffed 2 huge hiking bags full of supplies, then opened the door a crack to observe the outside. A few infected were wandering aimlessly on the street. I took a deep breath, gripped the fruit knife I had refreshed to be as sharp as a brand new one. Time to go. Leaving the store was uneventful with no real danger. I used the complex terrain of the store's back alley to avoid most of the infected. When I ran into a lone infected occasionally, I'd smash a fully refreshed can of Coke hard at its head. When it stumbled, I finished it off with the fruit knife. My target is Blue Bay community in the west of the city. It's a famous high-end residential area in the city, with a fully functional security system. The walls are tall and thick. They should hold up well in the early days of the apocalypse. More importantly, my parents' house is right there. When the apocalypse hit, I was at school. I lost contact with my parents. Finding them is the only thing I'm focused on right now. But the trip to Bayview Community was way harder than I expected. The city was completely paralyzed. Abandoned cars blocked every main road. I saw far too many tragedies along the way. People fought violently over supplies. That's when I fully realized that Zhang Ting's betrayal was probably just the tiniest thing in this cruel world. Humanity had completely collapsed here. By dusk on the third day, I finally reached the outskirts of Bayview Community. The tall iron gates were shut tight. I could faintly see figures standing guard on top of the wall. This place really had become a survivor stronghold. I hid far away and observed for a long time. To get into the community, I had to go through their checks. So I tidied up my backpack and hid most of my supplies in a hidden sewer. I only kept 2 bottles of water and a pack of biscuits and pretended to be an ordinary refugee. Walking toward the gate. "Stop! Who goes there?" A sharp shout came from the top of the wall. I raised my hands and looked up, showing my face covered in dust and dirt. "I'm a resident here. My name is Lin Chen. My home is in Building 17. The person on the wall was silent for a moment, probably verifying my info via walkie-talkie. A moment later, the iron gate opened a small crack. A man holding a steel pipe, looking very wary, stepped out. "Edie," he said concisely. I pulled out the ID I'd already prepared from my pocket and handed it to him. He checked it, then looked me up and down. "You alone? Where are your supplies?" I lowered my head when I heard that. My voice had just the right amount of quiver and fear. "They got robbed on the way. This is all the food I have left." The man frowned, like he didn't quite believe me. But seeing my skinny build and my pathetic look, he finally lowered his guard. "Come in. Remember the community rules. All new arrivals have to hand over half their supplies. For unified distribution." My heart tensed up. Luckily, I'd planned ahead. So I nodded obediently and handed over 1 bottle of water and half a pack of biscuits. The man took the stuff. A flicker of disdain crossed his eyes, but he still waved me in anyway. After walking into the community, the sight inside let me relax a little. Though the atmosphere was still tense, there was at least some order. People were patrolling, some were reinforcing the defenses, and women and children were gathered and housed in the community clubhouse. This place was like an isolated island in the apocalypse, temporarily cut off from the cruelty and chaos outside. An auntie in charge of registration told me. The community is now run by a man called Brother Xiang. He used to be the property manager here. He awakened Earth-type powers after the apocalypse and organized a guard team that protects everyone. All residents can get a portion of food every day based on their contribution. If you want more, you have to join the patrol team or the logistics team. I claimed I was weak and didn't join any team for now. My top priority is finding my parents. But when I ran all the way to my door, with a nervous heart, what I saw was a security door that had been violently broken open, and the inside was completely ransacked. My heart sank straight to the bottom when I saw this. I rushed into the house, yelling for my mom and dad like crazy, but all I got in response was dead silence. There was a thin layer of dust on the living room coffee table, which meant they'd been gone for at least several days. Though there were signs of a struggle on the floor, there were no other traces left. That was probably the only silver lining. I collapsed onto the floor. I was overcome with unprecedented confusion and fear. I had no idea where to look for them. Just when I was totally lost in despair, footsteps sounded outside the door. A cocky voice spoke up. Well. Looks like we missed one here." I looked up sharply and saw 2 men blocking the doorway. The leader was bald, looking me up and down with ill intent. I recognized him. He's Scorpion, a small leader under Brother Xiang. Scorpion licked his lips. His eyes stared at me like I was meat on a chopping board. He said in a snarky, sarcastic tone, "The head of your household a few days ago owed Brother Xiang a whole lot of contribution points. They've already been kicked out. This house belongs to us now." My pupils shrank instantly. I demanded, "What did you do to my parents?" Just kicked out, that's all." People who don't have what it takes in the apocalypse deserve exactly this kind of end." Scorpion let out a cold sneer. "But you look like you've got some skills. If you stay and run errands for us, we might even consider letting you stick around here for a meal ticket." I was still way too naive. I thought this place was a safe haven. Turns out it's the same law of the jungle here, too. Watching them get closer and closer, my hand quietly reached for the side pocket of my backpack. Inside there was a fruit knife that I had refreshed to look brand new. But just as I was ready to fight for my life, a cool, clear female voice came from the doorway. "What's going on here?" Scorpion and his buddies froze at the same time. When they saw who it was, the smiles on their faces froze instantly and immediately switched to a fawning look. The woman at the door was wearing a full black combat uniform, holding a tangdao in her hand. Dark red bloodstains still remained on the blade. Several equally tough-looking team members were following right behind her. I recognized her. She was the strongest member of Chen Yue's guard team and the former captain of the combat squad. Rumor has it she awakened a rare metal ability. Her strength is totally unfathomable. She's the most trusted enforcer Brother Xiong has. Chen Yue ignored Scorpion completely. Her gaze landed on me and asked again in a flat tone, "What's going on?" It felt like I'd grabbed a lifeline, I said quickly. "They're trying to bully me." Scorpion's face fell instantly. He hurried to argue. "Captain Chen, don't listen to his nonsense. His parents owed contribution points. We're just here to collect the house. To collect a house, you need 2 people, and you have to block the door too. Get out of here right now." Scorpion felt like he'd been granted a pardon, dragged his buddies and scurried away with their tails between their legs. After the crisis was over, my tense body went limp all of a sudden. I almost fell over. Chen Yue looked at me. Her eyebrows furrowed slightly. "Stay away from those guys in the future." After she said that, she looked like she didn't want to get more involved, and turned to leave. I called out to stop her hurriedly. "Captain Chen, do you know where my parents were driven to? Their names are Lin Jianguo and Wang Shumei." Chen Yue thought for a second. "They sound familiar?" Brother Xiong rounded up all people without abilities, who are too weak to do heavy labor, to the abandoned factory outside the north gate of the community, so they can fend for themselves, as he puts it. My heart clenched hard. A place like that abandoned factory has no food, no protection. What's the difference between that and waiting to die? After Chen Yue left, I shut the door immediately. I have to go to the North Gate factory. I have to find my parents, but right now I need strength. I pulled a chocolate bar out of my backpack, downed it in 2 bites to replenish my energy. Then my eyes fell on the steel pipe that Scorpion had left on the ground. It was covered in rust. It was even slightly bent. I put my hand on it and whispered "refresh" in my head. Then a brand new steel pipe that glowed with cold metal light appeared in my hand. Then I ran to the kitchen and found a set of outdoor survival tools that my dad used to collect. Inside there was a multifunctional engineering shovel, a survival axe, and a dagger. All of them were blunt from being unused for so long. I refreshed them, and the 3 sharp cold weapons instantly restored their original factory-level sharpness. When night fell, I took advantage of the patrol team's shift change gap and snuck quietly to the north gate of the community. This place was way more desolate than the main gate. Only 2 yawning guard members were on watch here. I didn't alert them. Instead, I found a blind spot for the cameras, using the brand new rope I'd refreshed. I easily climbed over the 3-meter-high wall. Outside the wall was a stretch of wasteland. In the distance, I could see the outline of a factory, looking like a silent giant steel beast. The air was filled with a rotten stench. Occasionally, I could hear the low growl of zombies. I gripped the steel pipe tightly, hunched my body low, and snuck quickly in the direction of the factory. But the closer I got to the factory, the more zombies I came across. I hid behind a broken wall and saw at least a dozen zombies gathered at the factory gate. They seemed to be drawn by some noise, slamming madly at the closed iron gate of the factory. Faint cries and screams could be heard from inside the gate. My parents were in there. I was frantic with worry, but my head told me I couldn't just charge in. I looked around and spotted a row of high windows on the side of the factory. They were about 4 meters off the ground. Maybe I could get in through there. Once I made up my mind, I moved right away. I picked up a rock, threw it as hard as I could at an abandoned car far away. There was a loud clang. The rock hit the car window, making a sharp cracking sound. The zombies by the gate were drawn to the sound, just as I expected. They turned slowly and shambled toward the source of the noise. Taking this chance, I sprinted straight to the base of the factory wall, pulled a rope out of my backpack. One end was tied to a climbing pick. I swung it hard. The pick got stuck firmly on the window ledge. I took a deep breath, climbed nimbly up the rope, then flipped quickly into the factory. It was a huge production workshop, filled with rusty machines and scattered parts, Only a few streaks of moonlight shone through the broken roof. From the other end of the workshop came muffled cries and arguing voices. I followed the sound and walked over carefully. In a corner fenced off with old machines, I saw dozens of survivors. Most of them were elderly people and kids. I spotted my parents in the crowd right away. They were huddled in a corner. My mom was holding her knees, crying silently, and my dad was holding her tight, trying to comfort her nonstop. My eyes instantly welled up with tears. I choked out, "Dad." "Ah!" Everyone was startled by my voice, and all turned to look at me at once. My parents jerked their heads up immediately. The second they saw me, their expressions turned from shock to wild joy. My mom let out a scream and scrambled over to me as fast as she could. In this hopeless apocalypse, the three of us hugged each other tightly. The joy of reunion washed away all fear and anxiety. But soon a discordant voice shattered this warm, tender moment. "Hey, where did you come from?" A man with a scar across his face stepped forward, followed by several strong young men. He was obviously the leader here. He stared at my bulging backpack with greedy eyes. "Not bad, kid. Making it here all by yourself." "What's in the backpack?" "Take it out and show everyone." I pulled my parents behind me to protect them and stared at him coldly. "These are my things." "Your things." The scarred man snickered. "Around here, nothing belongs to anyone. Everything belongs to me. Be smart and hand over the bag or else." He waved the machete in his hand. His threat was obvious. The goons behind him also surrounded me, staring at me aggressively. The old, weak, sick, and disabled people they'd herded here dared not say a word in protest. They could only look at me with sympathy. Seeing this, my dad quickly pulled me behind him and smiled apologetically at the scarred man. "Come on, man, my son doesn't know any better. There's just a little food in his bag. We'll give it all to you. Just don't make things hard for him." Too late. The scarred man grinned viciously. "I don't just want his bag now. I want his life too." As soon as he finished speaking, the scarred man reached out to grab me. A cold glint flashed in my eyes. Instead of backing away, I stepped forward. The steel pipe in my hand swung at a tricky angle and slammed hard into his wrist. There was a sharp cracking sound. The scarred man's wrist bent at a weird and unnatural angle. Everyone was stunned. No one expected that a scrawny kid like me, who looked frail and weak, would dare to fight back. The scarred man was sweating profusely from the pain. He roared with a ferocious look on his face. "You fucking dare hit me. Get him, grab him. I'll make him wish he was dead." The goons snapped out of their shock and immediately yelled and charged at me. I tossed my backpack into my parents' arms, then raised the steel pipe to block their attacks. One goon swung a wooden stick at me. I dodged to the side. I flicked my wrist smoothly. The other end of the steel pipe pressed right against his vital spot. He let out a shrill scream immediately. He doubled over and collapsed to the ground. I didn't make any unnecessary moves. Every strike targeted only the fragile joints. I didn't aim to kill with one blow. What scared them even more was that my stamina seemed endless. After taking down 2 guys in a row, the remaining thugs got scared. They hesitated and didn't dare come forward. Scarface clutched his broken wrist. He stared at me, shocked and furious. Who the hell are you? Are you a superpowered person too?" I didn't answer him. I just stared at him with cold eyes. All the pain and suffering I've endured these months turned into raging fury at this moment. Get lost or die. My ruthlessness shocked everyone into silence. Scarface's expression kept changing unpredictably. He never expected he'd run into such a tough nut. But just as the two sides were at a stalemate, the factory's iron gate suddenly boomed loudly. Then came the second and third booms. The crowd immediately panicked. The zombies outside are ramming the gate. What's going on? Why are the zombies rioting all of a sudden? Panic spread like a plague. Scarface didn't have time to deal with me anymore. He and several thugs used their bodies and debris to hold up the crumbling iron gate tightly, but there were way too many zombies. The iron gate was badly deformed from the ramming. The door bolt was creaking loudly. It could snap any second. A sense of despair hung over everyone. My parents were also trembling with fear. They held my hand tightly. I glanced at the old, rust-covered iron gate. A bold idea popped into my head. I held the steel pipe, and under everyone's shocked gazes, I walked toward the iron gate. "What are you doing?" "Do you have a death wish?" A thug holding the gate yelled at me. I ignored him. I walked straight up and pressed my hand on the cold, rusted door panel. Then, under everyone's disbelieving stares, a miracle happened. The dented, banged-up iron gate seemed to rewind in time, slowly smoothing back into shape. Even the deformed door frame straightened up again. In just a split second, a brand new shiny metal steel gate appeared in front of everyone, against the zombies ramming from outside. The gate didn't move an inch. Only low, dull thuds could be heard. The whole workshop went completely silent. Everyone stared at me with their mouths hanging open. Scarface's jaw was practically on the floor. He even forgot the pain in his wrist. He pointed at me and stammered, Your power is restoration." I didn't bother explaining. I pulled my hand back and stared at him coldly. Strength is the best pass in the apocalypse. My earlier ruthlessness, plus this unbelievable trick I just pulled, had completely broken Scarface's will to fight. He looked at me. There was no greed in his eyes anymore. Only deep fear. Be big, bro. I was too blind to recognize your greatness just now. Please don't hold it against me. I didn't say anything. I just walked over to my parents. My mom looked at me. Her expression was complicated. There was pride, worry, and a hint of unfamiliarity. I held her hand and gave her a reassuring look. "Mom, don't be scared, I'm here." Then I reached into my huge backpack and took out a box of self-heating rice, a ham sausage, and a bottle of purified water. I handed them to my parents. "Mom, Dad, eat something first." The smell of food immediately caught everyone's attention. The survivors, who had been hungry for who knows how long, stared at the food in my parents' hands. They gulped loudly, their eyes filled with longing. Scarface and his goons had their eyes practically popping out of their heads. In the apocalypse where food is more precious than gold, me pulling out this much food so casually shocked them even more than me fixing the gate. After I finished doing all this, I looked back at Scarface. From now on, I'm in charge here. My voice wasn't loud, but everyone heard it clearly. Scarface's face twitched. Finally, he lowered his head in defeat. Taking over the factory stronghold was smoother than I expected. Faced with absolute power and unlimited supplies, Scarface's tiny bit of authority couldn't stand a chance. I didn't kick them out. Manpower is also a resource in the apocalypse. I put them in charge of guarding the area and clearing nearby zombies. And I'm responsible for providing food and logistical support. Every day I lock myself up alone in a separate room, pretending to take stock of supplies. I'm actually spamming the refresh function for food and all other daily necessities. When crates of brand new supplies showed up in front of everyone, everyone looked at me with total awe. They all thought I had a space-type superpower that stored massive amounts of supplies. With enough food and a safe place to live, the survivors gradually looked more alive. This entire abandoned factory under my management became super well organized. My parents became my right-hand helpers, helping me manage personnel and distribute supplies. They regained their dignity and sense of worth among the people, and their mental state got better every day. Everything was going in a good direction, but there was always a thing bugging me, and that's the property manager from Blue Bay community named Brother Xiong. He kicked defenseless old people like my parents out to fend for themselves. I'm gonna settle this score with him sooner or later. Plus, Blue Bay community's fortifications and living conditions are way better than this dump of a factory. I want to give my parents and all these people following me a more stable home. It's time to go back and meet that Brother Xiong. A week later, I was fully prepared. I used my refresh power to take a few abandoned electric bikes I found in the factory and fully restore them to brand new, fully charged condition. I also spawned dozens of brand new sets of protective suits, safety helmets, and steel-toe shoes. As for weapons, other than steel pipes and axes, I also had people take the steel from the factory and grind them into lots of sharp spears. As for Scarface and his core crew members, they're now completely loyal to me. I feed them well and keep them warm, which is a huge favor in the apocalypse. I picked 20 of the strongest team members, including Scarface. Before we left, I looked at the fully prepared team and gave a short pep talk. We're not going back there to beg. We're going to take back what's rightfully ours. Blue Bay community has solid walls and comfortable houses. We're going to build a truly safe home there. If you want to come with me, get in the car. No one hesitated. After seeing my amazing powers, they trusted me almost blindly. The 20-person convoy moved in a mighty procession toward the direction of Blue Bay community. When we arrived at the north gate of Blue Bay Community, the guards on the wall obviously spotted us too. They stared at our highly equipped team and were all stunned. Scarface, weren't you kicked out? What are you doing back here? Scarface is my loyal supporter now. He puffed out his chest and replied in a loud, confident voice, "We're here to talk cooperation with Brother Xiong." Cooperation with you losers! The guard let out a snort of laughter. That's when I got out of the car, walked to the front, and said calmly, "Go tell Brother Xiong. Lin Chen is back." That guard didn't know who I was, but when he saw everyone surrounding me, he knew I was someone important. He hesitated for a second, then reported the situation via walkie-talkie. Soon the north gate was opened. Brother Xiong walked out with a big group of people, including Chen Yue, the former team captain. Brother Xiong's eyes were shrewd and arrogant. When he saw our team, especially our brand new equipment and high spirits, a flash of surprise and greed crossed his eyes. "Well, look who it is. It's little brother Lin Chen. Haven't seen you in a few days. Where'd you hit the jackpot, Brother Lin? Let's cut the crap, Brother Xiong. I want to bring my people to live in Blue Bay Community." Brother Xiong acted like he just heard the funniest joke ever and burst out laughing. "You still half asleep, Brother Lin. Blue Bay Community is territory I fought for. Why the hell should I let you move in? This is why—" I snapped my fingers. Scarface behind me carried a crate up front. When it was opened, it was full of unopened packages of compressed biscuits. Brother Xiong's laughter stopped abruptly when he saw that. The guards behind him all sucked in a sharp breath too. Even though Blue Bay Community has good defenses, there are a lot of people there, so supplies run out fast. Food has always been really scarce. They only get one piece of black bread as their daily ration. Where'd you get all this food? You don't need to know where I got it. I'm only asking you one thing. Do we have a deal or not? Brother Xiong's eyes darted around. What kind of cooperation are you proposing? It's simple, my people move in here. We'll provide part of the food supplies. You're in charge of the community's security. We manage this place together. Brother Xiong's face immediately darkened. Hey, kid. You're way too greedy, aren't you? I'm the leader of a proper base. There's no way I'd stand as equals with some random snot-nosed kid out of nowhere. If you don't agree, we'll fight our way in. Fight your way in. Ha ha ha, with just your 20-something people. Brother Xiong gave an order. Chen Yue and the Blade Squad behind her stepped forward in unison. A chilling, murderous aura spread out instantly. The Blade Squad is the ace of Blue Bay Community. Every single one of them is a battle-hardened superhuman. My people immediately tensed up. Only I kept a straight face as usual. I looked at Chen Yue, that woman who helped me once before. She was looking at me, too. There was a hint of curiosity and surprise in her eyes. Captain Chen, do you also think we can't get in? Chen Yue was silent for a moment before speaking. Mr. Lin, you're very powerful, but Blue Bay Community has 200 security guards. Forcing your way in won't do you any good. Her words were a kind reminder. Brother Xiong laughed smugly. You hear that? Don't be ungrateful, yeah. Hand over all your food supplies, and I might let you and your parents move in as regular residents. As for the people under you, go back to wherever you came from. That was his answer. Swallow all my supplies, then drive all my men away. What a clever little plan he's got. I laughed. Looks like there's no room for negotiation. I slowly raised my right hand, then pointed it at the tallest residential building. In the community behind them, I looked at all of them and said word for word, I'll give you one last chance. Let me in, or I'll make this building disappear. My words sent the scene into a weird, dead silence. Then deafening laughter burst out. Brother Xiong was laughing so hard he almost cried. Chen Yue, listen to this. This is the funniest joke I've heard all year. But Chen Yue didn't laugh. She just stared at me tightly. Her eyes filled with solemnity. She had a feeling I wasn't joking. And I really wasn't joking. After the smile faded from my face, I started counting down 3, 2. The smile on Brother Xiong's face froze. Everyone stopped laughing. They looked at each other confusedly and started to feel something was off. That 30-story tall building is the landmark of Blue Bay Community. It's also where most of the security guards' families live. When I got to 1, Brother Xiong finally yelled, fierce on the outside but weak inside. Stop playing tricks. Seize him, now! but it was already too late. The second I finished counting the last number, I activated my power. Instead of targeting objects within a 1-meter radius, I expanded the range of my power to its maximum limit without holding back at all. I looked at the grand building 100 meters away and silently said refresh in my head. It was like the whole world was muted. Under the horrified gazes of hundreds of people, that 30-story towering building, like a TV screen with signal interference, started flickering violently. Its outline became blurry and translucent. In just 1 second, that building, along with everything inside it, just vanished into thin air. All that was left was an empty foundation at the site. It was like it had never existed at all. Everyone's expressions froze on their faces. They were all dumbfounded, confused, and filled with an indescribable sense of fear. Brother Xiang's men completely broke down. They threw down their weapons, screaming and crying as they ran in all directions, like they were running from some apocalyptic disaster. Brother Xiang himself collapsed onto the ground, his face as pale as ashes. His lips were trembling, and he couldn't say a single word. The 200 security guards he was so proud of fell apart instantly. As for Chen Yue and the Blade Squad behind her, they didn't break down, but the look on every one of their faces was full of shock and terror. Chen Yue's hand holding her Tang sword was trembling slightly. She looked at me. The look in her eyes had completely changed. She was no longer looking at a somewhat capable survivor, but at a god walking among mortal humans. I slowly lowered my hand and walked up to Brother Xiang, who was limp as a puddle of mud. He lifted his head, staring at me like I was a monster, his whole body shaking like a leaf. "Can I take my guys in now?" Brother Xiang nodded rapidly nonstop. I ignored him after that. I turned to the people behind me who were also in a daze, including Scarface, and said, "Let's enter the city." My team members finally snapped out of it. They looked at me. Their eyes were filled with fanatical adoration. They knew their leader was strong, but they never expected him to be this strong. Wiping out an entire building, that's such incredible power. With a leader like this, there's no way we won't survive the apocalypse. Our group passed through Blue Bay community, under the awestruck gazes of all the residents, drove majestically into the community in a big group. No one dared to stop us anymore. Chen Yue and his sharp blade squad followed us silently from behind. It looked like they were escorting us. I knew that starting today, Blue Bay community had a new owner. After taking over Blue Bay community, the first thing I did was settle accounts. Brother Xiang and his power-abusing core subordinates were locked up by me. I didn't kill them. I only took away their superpowers. After my refresh ability evolved, it can now work on living beings. I can refresh a person's body to restore it to its healthiest state. Of course, I can also refresh the power core inside their body to reset them back to their pre-awakening state. When Brother Xiang went from an Earth-type superpower user to a powerless, weak, fat man, he had a complete mental breakdown. As for Chen Yue and his sharp blade squad, I decided to win them over. They are real warriors. They still have a conscience. They're a rare, valuable asset in the apocalypse. Right in front of Chen Yue, I refreshed a blunted Tang Dynasty sword damaged in battle. Then I refreshed a box of anti-inflammatory meds that were almost expired, turning it into brand new factory-fresh medicine. Chen Yue watched everything unfold, and finally realized my power wasn't a spatial ability, nor was it a restoration ability. It was a type of power he couldn't understand, something almost close to a law of nature. He was silent for a long time. He finally bowed his head to me. "The Sharp Blade Squad is at your command from today onwards." After taking in the Sharp Blade Squad, I finally had full control of Blue Bay community. I made new rules. Everyone, no matter if you have superpowers or not, gets food as long as you work. I quickly won people's hearts with unlimited supplies. At the same time, I got rid of all the bad apples in the community. Blue Bay community looked brand new under my management. My parents looked at me. Their eyes were full of relief and pride. They never asked what my superpower really was. They only knew their son had grown up and had become someone everyone could rely on. After the base was running smoothly, I started thinking about a deeper question. What exactly is the limit of my superpower? I can refresh instant noodles. I can refresh an entire building, so can I refresh a living person? I found a guard who was scratched by a zombie during a fight and had already started mutating. Everyone thought he was a goner. I sent everyone away, closed the door, and put my hand on his forehead. A soft white light covered the guard. His pained screams slowly died down. The mutations on his body faded at a visible speed. I watched his wounds disappear, and my mind was absolutely blown. I did it? I restored his body back to its original state before he was infected. This means the zombie virus is no longer an incurable disease for me. This discovery made me even more excited than when I refreshed an entire building. If I can cure the zombie virus, does that mean I can save more people? Maybe even end this apocalypse? A grand plan slowly took shape in my mind. But before that, I have a personal matter to settle. I called Chen Yue over and asked him if there was any recent news about a survivor group called Blaze. The one with D-rank fire manipulator Chen Yan and my ex-girlfriend Zhang Ting. Chen Yue pulled up the map, pointed at a large supermarket in the east of the city and said, according to intel, they took over that place and are the biggest force in the east of the city. Their leader is Chen Yan, a peak D-rank fire manipulator. A cold glint flashed in my eyes. We'll go visit our neighbors tomorrow. The next day, I only brought Chen Yue and the Sharp Blade Squad with me. We drove an armored off-road vehicle that I had refreshed and barreled all the way to the outside of that large supermarket. The supermarket had been converted into a solid fortress. The top of the wall was full of guards holding weapons. Our arrival immediately put them on high alert. Who's there? State your name. Chen Yue stuck his head out and said loudly, Lin Chen from Blue Bay Base. Here to visit Chief Chen Yan of Fire Base. The guys on the wall clearly haven't heard of me, but they definitely know the name of Blue Bay Base. Shortly after, the supermarket gate opened. A man in a red leather jacket walked out, followed by the fawning Zhang Ting. It's been a few months. Zhang Ting seems to be doing pretty well for herself. She froze for a second when she saw me. Then an expression of undisguised sarcasm and superiority spread across her face. Well, look who it is, Lin Chen. Couldn't make it out there anymore. Came to beg Firebase to take you in. She probably still thinks I'm that useless loser who needed her protection. Chen Yan also looked me up and down, especially when he saw Chen Yue and the Blade Squad behind me. A flash of fear crossed his eyes, but mostly he just looked disdainful. Blue Bay Base. Never heard of it. We don't take in dead weight around here. Since we're all survivors, I'll cut you some slack. Leave your vehicles and supplies here, then get lost. He sounded extremely arrogant. As far as he was concerned, his D-class fire manipulation ability made him invincible to everyone. Zhang Ting chimed in, arrogantly leveraging Chen Yan's authority. You heard him. Lin Chen, for old time's sake. I suggest you don't make things hard for yourself. The you right now isn't even fit to tie Chen Yan's shoes. Looking at her smug, triumphant face, I suddenly laughed. Zhang Ting. Do you remember the empty instant noodle cup you threw at me? Zhang Ting froze, confused why I'd bring that up all of a sudden. What noodle cup? I don't remember. Get lost now, stop being a nuisance. My smile faded, and my gaze turned cold. You don't remember? I remember it perfectly. I came here today to make you eat it. Zhang Ting thought this was the funniest thing ever, pointed at me and burst out laughing. Lin Chen, have you lost your mind? Make me eat a noodle cup. Who do you think you are? Chen Yan crossed his arms and sneered. You've got some nerve, kid. Looks like I need to teach you a lesson, so you know not to mess with me. As soon as he finished speaking, a blazing fireball formed in his palm, radiating incredible heat. The members of the Blade Squad immediately got into defensive positions. Only Chen Yue and I stayed where we were, completely still. I looked at the fireball in his hand and shook my head. That's all you've got. That's pathetic. As I spoke, I lifted my hand. The blazing fireball in Chen Yan's palm went out like a candle blown by the wind, fizzling out into thin air with a soft pop. The smug grin on Chen Yan's face froze instantly. He stared in disbelief at his now empty palm. What's going on? Where's my fire? He tried to activate his ability again, but no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't summon even the tiniest spark. His prized fire manipulation ability was gone. What did you do to me? Chen Yan pointed at me in terror, his voice shrill. I didn't answer him. I just turned my gaze to the terrified Zhang Ting. Who do you think I am now? Zhang Ting's lips trembled. Her face drained of color. She had no idea what just happened, but she'd seen that terrifying fire ability fail completely in front of me without a sound. She was too scared to say a single full sentence. Chen Yan was thrown in front of me by Chen Yue like a tiny chick. He knelt on the ground, sobbing and begging for mercy. Looking at his pathetic display, I felt absolutely nothing. I pulled something out of my pocket. It was a crushed, braised beef flavor instant noodle cup, the exact one she threw at me back then. I've kept it all this time. The empty cup in my hand instantly turned back into a brand new unopened cup of noodles. I tore open the packaging, took out the noodle block and all the seasoning packets, leaving only the empty paper cup, and set it in front of Zhang Ting. Zhang Ting stared at the empty paper cup on the ground, her face looking worse than a dead person's. She knew I wasn't messing around. She picked up the paper cup with trembling hands. Under everyone's watchful gaze, she was forced to eat it. Tears and snot ran all over her face. Chen Yan watched this scene unfold, finally realized she had messed with such a terrifying being. Then her legs gave out, and she knelt down right after. I didn't look at her. I just stared quietly at Zhang Ting, until she swallowed the whole paper bowl along with all the wrapping paper completely. The fall of Firebase was way easier than I expected. With their leader gone, the superpowered, people were scared out of their wits by what I did. They surrendered almost without putting up any fight. I merged the two bases. Blue Bay Base has become the most powerful survivor faction in the east of the city. After dealing with the whole Zhang Ting issue that bugged me, I poured all my energy into developing the base and researching superpowers. If word gets out that I can cure the zombie virus, it will shake the entire world for sure. Until I have enough power to protect myself, I have to keep this a secret. I set up a secret medical lab, run by my parents, that only treats infected people who can still be saved. Everyone I cured owes me big time and became my most loyal supporter. My influence grew before I even noticed, getting bigger like a rolling snowball. Along the way, I ran into other survivor factions. For friends, I provided them with supplies and help. For enemies, I never showed any mercy. The name Lin Chen gradually became a legend. Some say I'm a world-saving priest. Others say I'm a world-destroying demon. But no matter what they say, they can't deny one fact. I've reached the very top of this post-apocalyptic world. Year 5 of the apocalypse. Blue Bay Base has expanded into a giant city with a population of 100,000. We have a complete defense system, self-sufficient agriculture, and a restored orderly society. Smiles are back on people's faces here. As the founder and guardian of this city, I rarely appear in public. I spend most of my time in the tallest tower at the city center, looking down at the city I built with my own hands. My superpower is nothing like it used to be. I no longer need to touch things. To reset everything within my sight, I can reset a patch of barren land. To make it fertile, I can reset a patch of polluted water. To make it clear and clean, my power is getting closer to that of an actual god. Chen Yue is now the commander-in-chief of Hope City. She stood behind me, reporting the latest updates. City Lord, the zombie horde to the west is getting closer. Its leader is a never-before-seen intelligent, S-class mutant zombie. S-class zombies are the worst disaster in the apocalypse. It has the power to destroy an entire city. Hearing that, my gaze pierced through the long distance. I saw the sky-blocking dark wave formed by billions upon billions of zombies. I also saw at the center of the wave the Emperor-like being sitting on a sea-bone throne. That was the S-class mutant zombie. It seemed to sense my gaze, too. Its scarlet eyes met mine in midair. A terrifying mental pressure came at me from hundreds of miles away. Chen Yue grunted, and her face turned pale instantly. But I just waved my hand lightly, and that pressure vanished into thin air. Are you ready? Hope City vows to live and die with you. I smiled and shook my head. No, we won't die. I turned around to look at her, and at every single person in this city. It's time for this apocalypse to end. I walked out of Hope City alone. I stood on the city wall facing the zombie horde that looked like it could swallow everything. The 100,000 citizens in the city watched me through the giant screen. They were nervous and scared, but they felt more trust than fear. The roar of the S-class zombie felt like it could tear a person's soul apart. It commanded the horde to launch a full attack. I slowly raised both my hands, as if I was going to hug the whole world. Everyone thought I was going to launch some kind of world-destroying attack, but they were wrong. There was no killing intent on my face, only a hint of pity. My superpower isn't for destruction. It's for new life. I closed my eyes. and released all my power without holding anything back. It wasn't aimed at any single zombie, nor was it aimed at any single area, but on the cracked dry land, tender green grass grew again. The dark haze dispersed, revealing the long-lost clear blue sky. The S-class zombie sitting on the sea-bone throne watched in horror as its body changed. It tried to resist, but couldn't stop this power that came from the power of the fundamental law of the world. In the end, it turned back into its human form. It stared blankly at its own hands. The entire world was reset. Everyone infected by the virus returned to normal. All environments destroyed by the apocalypse came back to life. It was as if that 5-year-long nightmare was just an illusion. There was dead silence inside the city of hope. Everyone stared blankly at the screen. Watching this miraculous scene, no one knew how much time had passed. The first person cried tears of joy. Chen Yue took a deep breath. Her gaze was firm. Then came the second person. Then the third, and finally thunderous cheers echoed throughout the entire city. They echoed across the whole brand new world. They were shouting my name. I stood on the city wall, feeling the warm, gentle breeze. I turned around and saw Chen Yue. I saw my parents. I saw countless joyful, hopeful faces. I smiled. The instant noodles in front of me can reset infinitely. So can the world under my feet.